Yo, what's good? Big Z here, and today I want to talk a little bit about the loudness wars and how loud you should master your track for streaming services. They all play back audio at slightly different levels, which can be measured by LUFS, which is just a measurement of how loud a song is. So you can see in this chart that Apple Music uses around minus 16 LUFS, YouTube minus 13, Spotify minus 14, Tidal minus 14, and SoundCloud doesn't do any volume normalization. So what are you supposed to do with that? Are you really supposed to master different versions of your song for each of these services? And the answer is really no. Maybe you could do a separate one for just SoundCloud because there's no normalization at all there. But the difference is not that big between these streaming services to warrant mastering a different version for Apple Music versus YouTube versus Spotify. Now, the answer to how loud you should master your track depends on what type of music you make. If you make electronic music like me, you're going to want a more in-your-face feeling than a more dynamic feeling that maybe a rock song would have or like a ballad would have. So I'm going to do a test to show you exactly what happens when your song goes into these streaming services and the volume is normalized. So I have this loop in front of me that I've created for this test. I've bounced one version at minus 8 LUFS, and I've bounced another version at minus 14 LUFS. Now, minus 8 would be considered a loud in-your-face master as opposed to minus 14, which most of the streaming services are recommending right around that number. But we can easily replicate exactly what will happen when your track goes into, say, Spotify if you submit the minus 8 LUFS version. First of all, I'll just play you the loop so you can hear it. So to measure loudness, we can go down to metering and open up a multimeter. And there are plenty of different loudness meters you can use to measure loudness. So this one will have LUFS on the left right here. The LUI on the top is integrated loudness, and that takes into account the entire song, all the audio that you feed through it. And LUS is short-term loudness, which will just be the last 3 seconds of audio that go through it. So you can see if I play this whole loop again, the integrated loudness is floating around -8 or -7.9 LUI. And if I do the same thing for my minus 14 loop, you can see it's right around minus 14, minus 13.9, around that ballpark. So anyway, what we can do is go to this website called loudnesspenalty.com. And what we can do is drag in the louder version, the minus 8 LUFS version, in here. And it will tell you exactly how many dBs each streaming service will turn down this master by. So on Spotify, which is what we're going to do the test with, it'll turn down your master by 6.1 dBs. So if we go back into Logic, I'll go down to this minus 8 version right here, and I'll turn it down minus 6.1 dBs. Now it should be around the same exact perceived loudness when I switch back and forth between both the test loops. So now the loudness sounds similar, but to show you the differences in the audio, I'm going to bounce this track at minus 6.1 dBs so you can see. So I'm going to take my bounced audio, drag it back into the project, and now this shows you exactly what the streaming services are doing to your audio. So I'm going to mute this one for now and compare the top two. So the first waveform would be what it would look like if you submitted a more dynamic master at minus 14 to Spotify. And the second one would be what the waveform would look like if you submitted a louder master to Spotify. You can see the top one has more dynamics and the peaks are higher, but the bottom one, the quietest parts of the track, will be louder, so it'll give you a more in-your-face feel. The way you hear these two audio files will be different. So let me just A/B them so you can hear. So the louder master that's been turned down has a more compressed in-your-face feel, which can be good for electronic music, and I personally like when it comes to electronic music. It really takes the quietest parts of the track and just turns them up a little bit, whereas the top master is more dynamic. You might say, well, having more dynamics is always better, but that's not always the case for modern music. Like modern pop music and electronic music, you sometimes want a more in-your-face feel. So I recommend mastering a little bit louder than what Spotify and Apple Music and all the streaming services recommend if you make electronic music or hip-hop music or pop music, just so you can get that more in-your-face feel. So you can do this same exact test on your own songs to see exactly what the streaming services will do with your audio. So you can go back and forth and see which version you like better. So now, just for fun, I think we should go into iTunes and just buy the #1 song on iTunes, whatever it is, and just use the metering plugin to see how loud it is. So let's go into iTunes here. The #1 song is Ariana Grande and Miley Cyrus song, it looks like. So let's buy it. So I'm going to drag it into Logic here, and I'll zoom out so you can see the whole waveform. So I'm not actually going to play the audio because I definitely get a copyright infringement, but what I'm going to do is solo it and play the whole song with the metering plugin so I can get the integrated LUFS for the entire song. So I'll just fast forward it and you'll be able to see what the integrated LUFS is at the end of the song. Alright, so the integrated LUFS, as you can see, ended up being -7.9, which just goes to prove my point that modern pop music is still going to be in this loudness war, and they're still going to want that in-your-face feeling from the master. If they submitted this track to Apple Music and Spotify at -14 LUFS, yes, there would be more dynamics, but it wouldn't give you that in-your-face modern feel. So you can really use this test and test out your tracks and see what kind of sound you want when you submit your own song. So hopefully this helps some of you guys. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Spotify below. And other than that, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.